So, hey guys, what's up? So, today we are going to be reacting to something that may be controversial to some people who are watching this, and I just want to say that this is based off my beliefs, but reacting to Bill Nye, and I call him Bill Nye the liar guy because he tells lies. But basically, if you don't know, in around 2014, there was this big debate, and it was basically Christianity versus atheist, and representing the atheist, there was Bill Nye. And honestly, like, he has a background, but like no one remember him for anything besides his stupid TV show. But honestly, like I never had any respect for Bill Nye, but like now I even like I disrespect him so much because of this. But let's just react to this, and this will just really show you um what it is, and I'm going to be explaining, in my opinion, why. And the title is Bill Nye Destroys Noah's Ark, and this is about the theory behind Noah's Ark in the Bible. I'm going to be disproving every single one of his points that he makes, just to show why they're false. So,
Mr. Ham and his followers have this remarkable view of a worldwide flood that somehow influenced everything that we observe in nature. A 500-foot wooden boat, 8 zookeepers for 14,000 individual animals, every land plant in the world underwater for a full year. I ask us all, is that really?
okay, so he's saying, is it realistic? Well, of course, it may not seem realistic, but if you don't know, in Kentucky, they actually built this really cool thing, and it's the Ark Museum. And basically, they built a life-size model of the Ark, and then they actually explained based off a bunch of different science, based off engineering and architecture, how it would have been built, why it would have worked, and how their systems would have worked, and really explained how it would work and what it might have looked like. So I actually went to that museum, and that's where I learned about this debate. And it was very cool to learn about this. But now let's really get into what does liar Bill have to say. Let's listen to some of Bill's lies.
Really reasonable? You'll hear a lot about the Grand Canyon, I imagine, also, which is a remarkable place, and it has fossils. And the fossils in the Grand Canyon are found in layers. There is not a single place in the Grand Canyon where the fossils of one type of animal cross over
Okay, so basically, well,
into the fossils of another. In other words, when there was a big flood on the earth, you would expect drowning animals to swim up to a higher level. Not
okay, so first, there's no evidence that when exactly the Grand Canyon formed. Okay, we don't know that the Grand Canyon formed before this. We don't know exactly. There's actually a lot of evidence proving that the layer theory, that Earth just comes in layers, is actually disproved because it's another thing that's happened in this debate. I don't want to get into that much detail in it, but that is not true. The layer theory, we don't know exactly. We can roughly estimate what a layer in ice or a layer in rock or soil, how long that is. But really, we can't really compare that because sometimes geological events on Earth can cause certain things to happen. So it's very likely that maybe the Grand Canyon was or was not formed during this time. And then the thing is, if the animals really wanted to swim up, what if they couldn't? Like, what if there was only land animals down there? And what if animals could swim, why would they? That's the thing. If there's a huge flood and these animals were capable of swimming, of course maybe animals built for terrain, but back then maybe there wasn't. So if they were swimming animals, then they would have no reason to go up.
Not any one of them did. Not a single one. If you could find evidence of that, my friends, you could change the world. One
Okay, and here's another thing. The Grand Canyon, we haven't done that much fossil digging there. Yes, it's we have done some and we have found some things, but really now it's a protected area, protected by the National Park Service. So really not many operations since have been done to uncover any more fossils. So we can't really know about that if there is any more, and probably we could find some animals that would have gone up during that if we did. But the thing is now, based off the Grand Canyon, it is such a huge place. It would take years for us to mine out all of it and for us to really uncover all of it. But that is never going to happen because the Grand Canyon is protected because it's a national park.
one of the extraordinary claims associated with Mr. Ham's worldview is that
Okay, so another thing that I don't really like about how Bill Nye is saying this is that it's like a worldview. This really isn't a worldview. Yes, it is. It's a view on how it was formed, but you have a view too. Okay, a lot of people think that the theory of evolution is just science, but that is actually a religion. The definition of a religion is actually how you what you believe, how the earth was formed. So if you believe that, then that is your religion. And I'm not going to diss anyone or say I'm against anyone. This is my opinion. I'm just trying to disprove what he is saying because none of it makes sense. Okay, even Darwin, the theorist of the theory of evolution, admitted himself that his theory was probably not true. But scientists have gone so far in extents to literally try to put fake fossils to try to prove the theory of evolution. And of course, it's kind of a stereotype to theorize that scientists are like all scientists are atheists. A lot aren't, and a lot have like different beliefs. But the thing is, those that are, the theory doesn't really make sense.
this giant boat, very large wooden ship, went aground safely on a mountain in the Middle East, what we now call the Middle East.
Okay, so
And so places like Australia are populated then by animals who somehow managed to get from the Middle East all the way to Australia in the last 4,000 years. Now that
okay, so he's gonna say that doesn't make sense. How would those have got there? But let me explain. The Bible is a historically accurate history document. So based off the historical document and based off theorism, I we are able to theorize that when the Tower of Babel fell, they were so if you don't know Tower of Babel, they were trying to build up. When it fell, everyone was distance out and everyone was speaking different languages. And the one way you can interpret that is not only was every person separated, but there was Pangea, the continents were together before, and then the continents were also split apart. And that formed what we know today. So, based off combining them together, Australia would actually be close to where they would have ended up. And then we can't exactly pinpoint an exact location where the ark would have ended up, because we don't know. It's somewhere in that region based off what we know, but then we don't have all the details about where they exactly landed. But even if they did land somewhere in that area, Australia would actually be connected to there, so that would explain how the kangaroos would have got there. Another thing also is a lot of animals actually did something called microevolution when like descendants of because the dogs and then wolves they have a common ancestor and that came from on the ark, so could have came from something else, but also they could have ended up somewhere in the middle of the Middle East and Australia because of Pangea.
that to me is an extraordinary claim. We would expect then somewhere between the Middle East and Australia, we would expect to find
Okay, another thing is he's saying that you'd expect to find evidence of kangaroo fossils. Well, they had their animals and they had two pairs of each animal. So they would obviously want to take care of the animals and move them to specific places. So they didn't just have one big pack and they didn't just let them free and choose them where to go. They carefully wanted to take care of these animals because those were going to descent. So when they took them off, I would assume that they would have taken care of the animals because they had a pair of male and female for each animal species that was on the planet. So they would most likely want to take care of it. And then just as I talked about the Grand Canyon, that was so small compared to all of that area on Earth. There is so much land that we can't really theorize and say, oh, there is no kangaroos fossils anywhere. No, okay, we would have to mine out every cubic centimeter, every little area, and find to try find it. Have you done that? No. So you can't say that. That is a claim that has no evidence backing it up.
evidence of kangaroos. We would expect to find some fossils, some bones. In the last 4,000 years, somebody would have been hopping along there and died along the way, and we'd find them. And furthermore, there's a claim that there was a land bridge that allowed these animals to get from Asia all the way to the continent of Australia, and that land bridge has disappeared in the last 4,000 years. No navigator, no diver, no U.S. Navy submarine.
Okay, so again, the ocean's a big place. We have explored such a small percentage of the ocean and discovered such little. We can't just theorize and say that, oh, it's not there. Well, there's something called drift, there's something called current, and things can actually happen. Okay, things could end up in different places, and based off what I'm saying, maybe Australia wasn't directly connected. So the bridge would have actually been smaller than it was today because continents they drifted it off. Like you, the bridge, it was probably that big. It was probably closer, but they did have a big bridge. But still, you can't just say that you've explored all the ocean and you haven't found it. If you explored all the ocean, then that would be an actual scientific claim. But that is not a scientific claim because you are saying you explored all the ocean, but really we've explored such a low percent that we know almost nothing about the ocean depths. So we can't say that it's not there and there's no historical evidence of it.
Submarine, no one's ever detected any evidence of this, let alone any fossils of kangaroos. So your expectation is not met. It doesn't seem to hold up. Another remarkable thing I'd like everybody to consider, inherent in this worldview, is that somehow Noah and his family were able to build a wooden ship that would house 14,000 individuals. There are 7,000 kinds, and there's a boy and a girl for each one of those. So it's about 14,008 people. And these people were unskilled.
Okay, first, if you looked at the Bible and historical evidence, first, yes, it may not make sense at first for just one family to be able to do this, but it wasn't like he did in 1 year. He had so many years, and the thing is, at that time, people lived longer. People had longer lifespans, so he was actually capable of doing that, and he was provided with tools and the designs and schematics. He was actually provided with what he needed to do. So even though he wasn't skilled, he did know how to build things, but even though he didn't know exactly how big it was supposed to be, he was given the exact blueprints from God of what it was supposed to look like, and then he was able to do that.
Furthermore, they had to get all these animals on there, and they had to feed them, and I understand that Mr. Ham has some explanations for that, which I frankly find extraordinary, but
Okay, so even though it may not make sense, when you're given schematics for this, they, just like I said before in the beginning of the video, the art museum really well explains this. How it was an entire self-sustained ecosystem kind of inside this very large ship. So they were able to get food. They were able to feed the animals. They were able to collect rainwater. They were able to get rid of waste, and they were able to do all that because of the design, and they were able to do this, and they had time to do that. They were able to learn. And then the thing is that over time humans has gotten weaker and weaker due to modern technology, so we can assume that back then our ancestors were a lot stronger, which give them the physical capability to actually work longer days, to stay up later. So that gives them the physical capability to actually do that, to build something like that.
this is the premise of the bit. And we can then run a test, a scientific test. People in the early 1900s built an extraordinary large wooden ship, the Wyoming. It was a 6-masted schooner, the largest one ever built. It had a motor on it for winching cables and stuff. But this boat had a great difficulty. It was not as big as the Titanic, but it was a very long ship. It would twist in the sea. It would twist this way, and this way. And in all that twisting, it leaked. It leaked like crazy. The crew could not keep the ship dry. And indeed, it eventually foundered and sank, loss of all 14 hands. So there were 14 crewmen aboard a ship built by very, very skilled shipwrights in New England. These guys were the best in the world at wooden shipbuilding. And they couldn't build a boat as big as the Ark is claimed to.
Okay, so again, people back then had stronger capabilities, but then it's not like they had to design from scratch. They were given the exact blueprints, exact schematics, and those calculations, by God, actually did work because that boat did actually make it. And in the Ark Museum, they actually show this. They show any other boat design that would be big enough to do that. All of them would actually fail because of that, but this design would actually work. And they explain why this design would work. And there's so much science, architectural engineering, and all this stuff behind the design of the ark to be able to fit that and to actually work. But it didn't break because the calculations were not done by human. The calculations were done by God and given to Noah to then build that ship. Okay?
Claim to have been. Is that reasonable? Is that possible? That the best shipbuilders in the world couldn't do what 8 unskilled people, men and their wives, were able to do. Shipwrights, my ancestors, the Nye family in New England, spent their whole life learning to make ships. I mean, it's very reasonable perhaps to you that Noah had superpowers and was able to build this extraordinary craft with.
Okay. Humans may not be able to have superpowers, but there's one thing. There is someone that has superpowers and limitless powers, and that's God. God designed those blueprints, calculated the exact architectural design that would allow that boat to survive, to fit every single animal, every single person. And then Noah trusted, had faith, and built that. And that was what happened.
7 family members, but to me, it's just not reasonable.
So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. And real quick, I just want to say that feel free to share your opinions if you want down in the comments below. But I just want to say that these are my opinions. You can feel free to believe whatever you want, be part of any religion or culture that you would like to be. These are, of course, my opinions. But I did explain using scientific explanation actually, and it's kind of crazy how they would pick that, and those claims can all be made. And just if you were wondering who won the debate, who won, well, of course Christianity won, because that's true. There's actually a lot of science in the Bible, and it supports all that. And when you actually put it all together, it truly shows that the facts of Christianity outweigh any facts at all from atheism, because there's none. So if you'd like to take this and you um hope and you've been inspired in anything cool, if you don't like this and you want to like be contra, want to share your own opinion in the comments, feel free. But I just want to say that these are my opinions, so don't try to change me or anything. I am who I am, you can be who you are, and I hope you have enjoyed. If you want to see more content like this, because I do know a lot, and I would love to use my knowledge to explain more things. So if there's anything you have questions about, whether it comes to science in the Bible, I actually know a lot about that, or whether it comes to science in general or anything, make sure to just comment down below. And I just want to say that all my facts are not just stuff I made up. I have lots of research behind me, and I just want to say that I can be a trustworthy source. So make sure to trust me, and if you don't, that's okay. But make sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and bye.